Hey, welcome back to the weekly reading writing update. This was a bit of a weird week. It was the last week of vacation for me, so I'm filming this from home a little bit later in the week than I usually do. Vacation was great, got a lot of much needed rest. I expected to make more progress writing than I did. I just wasn't feeling it too much, so we'll get to that in a bit. But reading made a lot of really great progress reading. I enjoyed my time a lot. Overall, reading first, I did finish The Name of the Wind. That was pretty major update from the last. I think I was only about 150 pages in last update, so a lot of reading done there, and I really thoroughly enjoyed that book. What's funny is I finished it and I immediately thought, I'm okay to not move on to the next one for a little while. And now, as I've gotten home, I've kind of come back around and I'm like, oh, I would really like to get to the next one. What's the next one called? The Wise Man's Fear. I believe that the third book is not out yet. Just the way the book's written, I would anticipate that the second book is day 2 of Quoth giving his life story. The first book seemed to be all of day 1, and then, I would assume that book 3 might be day 3. I really don't know. I'm sure if you've read the books, you might be like screaming at your screen, be like, oh no, it's this and this, whatever the case is. I really liked it. As I hadn't really gotten into too much last week, the whole premise of the book is the main character is telling his life story to a, it's almost like an autobiography or something to that effect to this chronicler. And so what I thought was really cool about that is that you got some third-person interludes, but first-person, this person with an incredible memory telling his story. So I really enjoyed that. I did have a couple critiques. The critiques are hard because the main thing that I had was I felt that the main character kind of constantly made some bad choices, and I tend to give it a little bit of a pass on that, even though I'm saying it's a critique, because he's talking about himself as a 15, 16-year-old, so obviously there's been a lot of growth, but the main character has some interesting, he's very prideful, he believes that he's doing the right thing all the time and that there's no way anything could go wrong, and it consistently goes wrong. And in this first book, it almost feels like he doesn't learn from that at all. I think to me that's kind of a lesson. I tend to have that same mindset sometimes, and that I think I'm right most of the time, and I can be a little bit overzealous about that. So it was kind of fun to see a side of that, find myself critiquing that, and then be able to recognize that in myself. So that's something that I really enjoy when I can identify it in books, is kind of a reflection point for myself, even and maybe even especially in nonfictions, because you're reading this as you're learning from an author, whether it's a fiction or a nonfiction. So I really enjoyed that. I gave Name of the Wind overall 4 stars on Goodread. I would say it's closer to like a 4.25 or 4.5. I'm not going to get too much into the semantics of that. I enjoyed it more than the usual 4-star rated book. Looking forward to getting to the next one. The Name of the Wind, very, very much kind of, I would call it kind of pure fantasy with some interesting sci-fi interjections into it, because the magic elements of it are very based in science, and the university and the schooling that Quoth receives it's almost grounded in science and research, but within a fantasy world where magic is the kind of underlying. Most people are very leery of magic and we'll say, almost scared of magic. It's kind of, I think that archetype is kind of interesting, where you have, a world that is afraid of magic, or maybe magic is going out of fashion or going out of the current standard of the world, and yet you've got some people who are practicing it. and they come across as kind of mysterious or whatever that is. The lore of the book is really deep as well, in that you get kind of these hints at like old things that are happening, and then the author will give you much more in several kind of doses. So that kept me reading a lot, because you know, it's a mystery, it's a fantasy, it's got some little sci-fi interjections. It's certainly not a sci-fi book, but it's got some interjections in that sense. So it kind of hit a lot of the little things that I like to hit in fiction, is particularly sci-fi fantasy. As I mentioned, I did start Jurassic Park. This is a reread for me, but I've just really been wanting to reread it. It's been a while since I've read it, so I had kind of forgotten how much the movie is actually based on some of the points of the book, yet how different they are. It's another one of those books and movies that I really enjoy both mediums. Jurassic Park, the movie, is up there for favorite movies for me. The book is, I think I have the book in my favorite shelf as well. It's just, it does the sci-fi thing where it talks about the current technology that's going into the park, and it's kind of fun to read now. I think it was written back in the 90s or 80s, so like it was cutting edge technology, and now it's very much outdated. But I think it's kind of cool in that, you know, even in the modern movies, I don't love the modern movies, but you can almost scale it up to that, and you can almost apply kind of modern technology to Jurassic Park, and it still works. So I really enjoy the book. I'm only about 100 pages in. I think it's 400 pages or so. And there's not gonna be any surprises in it for me. And I like the review of it is not gonna be a surprise. I already know that I really love it. So, been enjoying that. I also started The Poppy War on audiobook. This is another kind of reread, but I'm almost not considering it a reread because I haven't read any of the following novels to it. But I don't remember loving The Poppy War the first time around, but I've read some of R.F. Kuang's other work and I really love it. So I'm kind of giving it a second chance and seeing, if there was something that I missed, or if I was just not in the right headspace, something like that. I just expect I might like it this time around more. I might not. I have the entire trilogy on audiobook, so I'll probably give each of those a try to some extent, in order, of course. Coming up next, I kind of expect to move on to the 5th Dungeon Crawler Carl book, potentially. I'm also thinking that we might move on to the 2nd Name of the Wind book, or Kingslayer series, Kingslayer Chronicles, the Wise Man's Fear. I really enjoyed it, so that might be kind of next on the list for me. I was just kind of laughing to myself. I have 192 books on my want to read. I'm not a huge to be read person. You probably won't see the same videos on this channel of my monthly TBR or anything like that, just because I've kind of found that I really love the freedom to read what I want when I want. If it seems like I'm a little all over the place as far as what I'm reading next, that's because I am. So either probably Dungeon Crawler Carl or Wise Man's Fear is coming up next. So if you are looking for kind of reviews of either of those, stick around. If I find something else that I'm interested in, I might move to something different. So, there's plenty of time, and there's lots of good stuff coming out. We'll just have to see where we go next. Nonfiction, taking a little bit of a break from that. That just kind of, I start to feel a little bit heavy if I read a lot of nonfiction, just because I feel that you have to put a little bit more effort into listening or reading nonfiction. And sometimes I'm just kind of tired. I want to just read for the enjoyment of reading, not trying to get a lesson out of everything or anything like that. I think that nonfiction, you don't have to read as, I need to get this out of this, or really focus in here, but I tend to do that. I can't really turn that off, so I find that I'm needing a little bit of a break, and I'll probably pick something up at a later time, or soon, or after a little bit of break. Okay, on to writing update. A really slow week for writing this week. I think I'm at about 88%. I want to say last update we were at 86%, so really slow movement. I really thought we were gonna kind of be through everything by September and be moving on to editing. And I don't know, I was just struggling with motivation, ideas. I got a couple chapters down and I'm happy with them, but I was finding myself kind of slogging through some stuff. So instead of, writing something that I knew was gonna need some heavy edits, I kind of just said, hey, I'm gonna take a break, go easy on that process for now. So I expect that to pick up a little bit now. I'm feeling a little refreshed, and I feel like I've got some ideas for the ending. I'm finding that to be the hardest part right now, is just wrapping up everything. So what I'm kind of planning to do is just kind of get the ending down and then kind of edit it down to where I like it. Because I have a lot of moving parts in the ending and a lot of different perspectives that need to end up lining up. So just a little bit of a glimpse into that process there. If you're writing a book and you're struggling with the ending, kind of just know you're not the only one. I think that as I continue, I'll get better at that. What I'm finding in this is I've been writing this whole book from a discovery perspective, and now I'm having to kind of bring in a little bit of that blanking. Why am I blanking this? Outline. Yeah, I'm having to kind of bring in some principles of outlining to kind of supplement my discovery, just because it just ends up as kind of a jumbled mess for this book or for my style. I'm not really sure yet, but when I start to feel down or discouraged about not making any progress, I think what helps me the most is to go look at that document and see just how large it is and just how much work has been put into this, and know, like, hey, like this, you don't have to do this all in one sitting or anything like that. It's consistency is the thing that is the most effective for me. And I think probably effective for anybody starting out in this hobby or this vocation, if you're hoping to make it into that. I think that consistency is really key, because you're gonna have days where it's harder, and so if you can just put a couple words down or a couple ideas down, I think that really helps propel you into a system of being consistent throughout the course of months, rather than just, picking up something for a week or two and then fizzling out. That's what's been most helpful for me. So, like I said, expect to ramp up a little bit, have a little bit more progress this next week, being back at home. Being on the road was just a little bit difficult to find the time. You're just busy, you're doing other things when you're vacationing. It was not a writing vacation for me by any means. It was purely just a family vacation where we were expecting to spend a lot of time relaxing. So that was accomplished. Great, and now we're back to the real world. So another thing, if you haven't seen, I put out a video about cliffhangers and whether they really add to a book or a series or if they detract from it. So if you're interested, go check that out. I will be back next week with another writing update. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you then.